Hi everyone, welcome back to video series on Jerry's basic jiu-jitsu principles. The last few videos you've watched have been about the underhook. We've covered rules 1 and 2 of underhook. Rule 1 being always follow your underhook. Rule 2 being the 4 dates of underhook. And rule number 3 now is, it's called grab your gun. And I'm a big believer in giving credit where credit's due. The term grab your gun originally I heard John Will say, and John Will's a great coach. There's a lot of John Will in every Australian person, every trainer, jiu-jitsu practitioners, training, I think. So credit where credit's due. So much like the last 2 videos, there's some aspects of this standing that I want to show, as well as some aspects on the ground. But essentially, grab your gun, I suppose it's like a Wild West sort of thing where your hand comes back as though you're going to pull a gun out. The idea of this is that you can put your arm between you and an opponent and get an underhook, whether it be because they're behind you or whether it be because they're beside you. So what I want to show first of all is the defense against a rear naked choke standing. One of the few quote unquote self-defense techniques that I like to show. But what this technique does is it shows how grabbing the gun gives us the capacity to get out of this position. Because a person can only choke me from behind if they're behind me. So instead of trying to stop the choke, what I'm going to do is face them so they're no longer behind me. So what I'll do is I'll jump over in front of Callum and get him to put a choke on, and we'll go through it once slowly and then we'll go through it once fast. So Callum's going to grab me into the rear naked choke from behind. Obviously, while I'm going slowly, I'm going to go hard, but we'll go hard in a moment. First thing with any choke is I've got to defend my neck, so I can't be choke unconscious. I haven't got long here. Now, I'm pulling down away from my neck with 2 hands. This is going to, 1, give me a second. It's also going to attack his shoulder a little bit. Now, I've got to turn my body to face his choking arm. So I start to turn my hips away and my face towards. First thing that happens when I do this is that I'm no longer feeling choke pressure. Second thing that Callum would be feeling is that I'm actually starting to put a slight bit of pressure on his shoulder, similar to what would happen if I did an Americana. Now, from here, I'm going to grab my gun. I'm going to do it with the nearest arm. So grab my gun, it means I'm reaching down as if to pull a gun out of my holster, but I'm going to use that, being this is an underhook rule, to grab an underhook. So I'm going to shoot my arm back, grab an underhook, and from here, we already know the rules of underhook. First one is to follow it, and second one is the dates. So follow my underhook, it gets me to 3rd date, and then I can go straight to 4th if that's what I want to do. So that's the basic idea. What we're going to do now is Callum's going to put the choke on hard, and I'm going to do the same defensive motion and get out of the choke. Thanks very much for that. See you again with on the ground in a moment to do the ground aspects of the grabbing your gun. Alright everyone, welcome back. We've just been talking about grabbing our gun. Grab your gun is the 3rd rule for underhooks. So when we looked at defending against a rear naked choke, standing up a moment ago, we were able to see how grabbing our gun, pull our hand close to our body and getting an underhook allowed us to turn to face our opponent. Now, there is a rule we've talked about a little bit in the past with jiu-jitsu, one of the basic principles, which is the strong zone principle. And that essentially tells us that the place in front of our body, within the reach of our arms, is what we call the strong zone. That's the strongest place where we can apply the most of our strength. I'm not as strong out to the side as I am within that zone. Now, when we started in that rear naked choke and Callum was behind me, I was right in his strong zone and he was not in my strong zone. But by turning my body to face him and then getting to the side of him, 2 things happened. One is he was in my strong zone after I made that turn, which is better for me, but I was out of his. And that's one of the things the grabbing the gun principle gives us. It gives us the capacity to get an underhook, but also to use it to get a better strength position compared to our opponent. So we did this a moment ago standing up with the rear naked choke. What I want to look at it now is more in terms of the like a turtle type position. So I'll jump out and turtle. I'll get Callum to come to the side. Maybe it's a side back position, or you might call it a hip ride position, something along those lines, and we'll have a look at it from there first of all. So I'll jump down here. So the idea, if I'm turtling here and Callum's here attacking my hips, and the biggest key to what Callum's doing is applying weight to me and driving, is he's keeping this hand to pull me close to him, pulling me in, and his hips on this side are driving towards me. So there's very little space between us. And if I start reaching my hand back here like this, I'm breaking the elbow rule. My elbow's coming away from my body, and that's opening up options for Callum. So I've got to keep my elbow close to achieve this. So usually what I want to do is a combination of two motions. One is going to be to lift my hips, and when I lift my hips from here, it drives Callum slightly forward. The second thing I want to do as I do that is I'm going to drive my near leg backwards a little bit, which creates a tiny gap of room. From there, I can grab my gun. So up, kick my leg back, grab my gun. I went to the highest underhook I could, which in this case was third date. But I immediately go to the best underhook I can get from there, which is fourth date. And then I can finish on a single. So let's look at that again. Callum's attacking the hips at the hip ride position. He's doing a good job. He's driving outwards pressure low down on my thigh, which is pulling inwards pressure on my body and driving his hips into me. So I'm really struggling to make much movement. All of my lateral movement's controlled. Since that's controlled laterally, I'm going to go with an upwards movement. Lift my hips up, which changes Callum's weight, kick my rear leg back to make space, and then grab my gun. Got third date, transition to fourth date, and finish with a single leg. So that's a really great example of how we can apply that grab your gun principle in a ground exchange, in a ground grappling type of scenario. And it comes up again and again. Another one you hear me say coaching is grab your gun. Thanks very much.